Building Your 5-Year Career Plan. Roslyn is a lead system security engineer in the Secure Sensor Solutions mission area within Raytheon Intelligence and Space. She is responsible for ensuring system engineering excellence in systems analysis, requirements development and management, and developing, implementing, and testing the security architecture on active electronically scanned array radars. Welcome, Roslyn. Joining Roslyn in conversation, we have Dr. Anne Murray, who is a Director of Systems Integrity and Product Cybersecurity Officer for Raytheon Intelligence and Space. Dr. Murray leads a team in the development of embedded systems and software security solutions across RI and S strategic business units. She has over 25 years of program and leadership experience in defense and commercial industry. Thank you all for being here today. I'll pass the mic to you, and I look forward to listening to your conversation.
Thank you so much, Mariella. Thank you for that wonderful introduction of everyone. Roslyn and Anne, thank you both so much for being here. Thank you for making the time. I really appreciate it, and all of our listeners do as well. So let's talk about 5-year plans. So first, maybe I've already got Anne laughing. So maybe Anne, maybe you can kick us off a bit about your own career trajectory and how, if any, planning factored into your growth.
Sure. Happy to. I know when we think about planning, we think it's boring, but actually there's a lot that you can learn from it. And it actually, it helps you in kind of establishing and being a plan to be intentional about your career. So for me, when I was fresh out of undergrad, I worked at NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And from there, I went into graduate school where I studied electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon. I received my master's and my PhD. And I actually specialized in robotics, human-computer interfaces. And then from there, I went and I landed at IBM, where I established and helped build the hands-free automation in their semiconductor facility. And then also a series of other technical leadership roles and functional leadership roles at IBM. And then I was enticed to go to a startup company out on the West Coast. Had a lot of fun with that. But with most startups, most of them don't really move on to, I'll say, a full-blown company. But with that positioned me really well to have a career and a position at Raytheon Technologies. I was very much interested in high-tech type industries. So I landed at Raytheon Technologies, and I've been there for roughly 12 years. And it's been really, really exciting. I've been able to explore and expand a lot of my skills, both not only in technical leadership, but also in team leadership and development. My planning throughout the phase of my career, there have been moments where I've been very intentional about my plans, and then other times when I've been far more open and more on a receiving end. And so at various points in my career, especially earlier on in my career, I was a little bit more deliberate in terms of, or it was more prescriptive, I guess you could say, in terms of things that I was looking for to build my foundation. And that's part of the reason why I went to graduate school, for example. I realized that I really loved automation, loved robotics, and realized that a graduate degree was needed in order to really advance in that type of career. And I've had instances like that along my career path. And so Roslyn, I guess I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, please.
All right, thank you. So I've been with Raytheon Technologies about 11 years. I started at Raytheon, pretty much my whole career I've been at Raytheon. I started off as a summer intern while I was getting my bachelor's in mechanical engineering at the University of California, Riverside. Then when I graduated with that degree, Raytheon hired me on full time. I ended up, though, accepting a position in Texas, McKinney, Texas, where I worked for about 3 years as an interconnect developer and mechanical engineer. And then this is where kind of career planning really kicked in for me. As a mechanical engineer, I really wasn't loving what I was doing. I didn't really see in the position that I was in a lot of career growth. So I reached out to some mentors, and I had people help me kind of develop a career plan and figure out what I was interested in. And what I realized is I'm a bigger picture thinker. I really liked to understand how full systems worked instead of the, component or package that I was working on. So with that career plan, that really helped me figure out, okay, I want to be a systems engineer. How do I get there? So we developed a career plan to figure out how can I develop the skills, knowledge to be a system engineer. So while I was in Texas, I got my master's in system engineering and management, and then got hired on in El Segundo as California as a systems engineer. And that's kind of how I think my career really took off in system engineering, just because of the passion and that I have for it and the people that I work with. And so I've been with, Raytheon fully 11 years. It's been a great experience, but that's the career planning kind of in the very beginning of my career really helped kind of navigate where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to follow up with that, Roslyn, so I hear, it helped you navigate. So what are the key questions you asked yourself, we'll start with you, to create this 5-year plan or a career trajectory, as you described it?
Yeah. A big question I had to ask was, what was I interested in, and what was what I was good at? What I had a passion for, what I was good at, what were my strengths, what were my weaknesses, and having to ask those questions, do a deep dive on myself, and kind of really write that out of my interests and where my weaknesses were. That really helped to develop my career plan. I also had to ask myself where I was at in my life as well. And kind of, with that and transitioning, I wanted to get my master's degree. And at the time I was in Texas, I wasn't married yet. I didn't have any kids. So it was really, a lot easier to work full time and also get a master's degree. It obviously can be done in any situation, but at the time it worked for me to be able to do that. So again, I had to ask for what were my strengths and weaknesses, and obviously trying to hone in more on my strengths, and because that's more of my passions, and what opportunities and jobs were there that were honed around those skill sets. And then also in my current situation, what were the sacrifices, or what was I willing to take on and learn to be able to take those steps to be able to accomplish what was in my career plan.
Mm-hmm. And did you have similar questions, different questions? You mentioned earlier about planning can, I think at first blush, sound boring, but you can actually learn a lot. Can you speak about that? Those questions?
Sure. So the 5-year plan, very much what am I passionate about? What am I good about are some of the questions, but also what do I dream about? Right. What are those and what are those things that I get jazzed about? And for me, early on in my career, it was about robotics. It was the technology, being able to see what I envision come to life. And I saw that through robotics, and that's kind of propelled me into these other technical areas throughout my career. I think another thing for me, and Roslyn kind of touched on this a little bit, but as I moved in later in my career, I started going deeper in that exploration and really looking at what are my values, and how is the next assignment or the next few assignments, how does that align with my core values? What's important to me? And that it can change. Those core values usually are pretty steady throughout your life, but then as you go through different life experiences, what takes priority will change sometimes. And so Roslyn kind of touched on that as well. And we all kind of go through that throughout our progression and in our career. But for me, it's really what sparks it is, what's the dream, what's the passion.
What would you say, Anne, are some of your core values?
My family is very important to me. Very, very important to me. So is my spirituality, right? So what I do has, at the end of the day, I need to be able to look myself in the mirror, right? And be happy with myself and what I've accomplished. So those are two that come right away. Work-life balance is very important to me. Very important to me. I work very hard. I will tell you that. I mean, Roslyn knows, right? Because we work together, right? We all work very hard as engineers. We all tend to work very hard because we enjoy and we're very passionate about what we do. But there's always time for family and fun, right? To me, that's also important.
Roslyn, are there any core values or dreams that you feel like have stayed true through your beginning into where you are now, and maybe some that have changed?
Core values have pretty much been pretty consistent. Obviously, my faith in God, my family, those are core things that have kept me motivated and kind of keep me in the right direction. As for my passions have changed, though, I'll admit, like when I was growing up, I had dreams. I wanted to be a WNBA basketball player. That was my dream up probably until senior year of high school, and I only got like one offer from a college, and it was like, all right, this probably isn't gonna work out that great. So let me figure out a different passion, right? Because sports was my passion for most of my life. So, but luckily my dad was an engineer. He worked in the aerospace defense industry. So seeing him and going to work with him during like Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. I used to go to his company for that. And that kind of was like a second passion for me that I realized once I got into college. So that's when I started off in mechanical engineering. But then, like I said, I got it once I started at Raytheon. I got into mechanical engineering and was like, I'm not as passionate as I thought I would be about this. And then I kind of had to rethink, ask myself those questions of like, okay, what are my new passions now? What are my strengths, weaknesses? And as I figured those things out, I was like, all right, system engineering is my path. And so far I've been in system engineering for about 5-6 years now, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think that's where I'm at right now. And my passion though for the future is to, be in a leadership role within the system engineering community.
And do you have passions too that for looking ahead? I mean, you've had such an illustrious career so far. You've worked in all these different places for all these different companies. You're building robots and flying us to space. Like what else is there to do?
Always more left to do in life. There's always. No, my real passion right now, and I've had a lot of fun over the last 5-6 years, as Roslyn knows, I'm leading a team of very, very talented engineers in system security. And Roslyn is part of that team. And it started as a very small team, very humble team. And it is year over year, we've grown enormously. And to me, my passion is the team and building those skills, building a capability in that team. It's something that I'm very, very proud of the team of what they've accomplished. And we still have a ways to go. I mean, there's always room to grow. And so for me, that's where I'm kind of at right now in my career. 5 years from now, I would like to continue to grow. I would like the team to continue to grow. There will be continued opportunities for sure.
You mentioned earlier about when you were starting out your career, you had more of a set path, and then you became more open to receiving, I think is the way you described it. So if we're talking about 5-year plans, how important are backup plans in creating a 5-year career plan? When it's like, oh, I really have this, like the NBA, or, like, okay, well, that didn't work out, and pivot. Like, how do we pivot? How do we accept these backup plans, and how do we even come up with them if we don't maybe know what they are yet?
Well, that's a good point, because when I set off, when I graduated from with my bachelor's, I had no idea that I would be going off to graduate school, or I would be working at IBM one day or Raytheon. I had no idea. That I knew I wanted to be an engineer. I knew I was very hands-on, and I started with that. But talking with mentors, talking with your peers, but especially your mentors who've been there, is very, very important. And that's how it led me to robotics in those discussions, because I also interned like Roslyn. That was a really fantastic experience. And through that the experience, it opened up other opportunities, and you just have to give yourself and remain open to those opportunities that you wouldn't have known about when you first started planning your career or your 5-year plan. Yeah. So,
Roslyn, do you want to speak to backup plans?
Yeah, as I kind of spoke earlier, I did not have a backup plan for when I didn't make it to the WNBA. I did not have one. I had to course correct, in the moment. I took some time to, get over. It hurt, but I took some time to get over that. And like Anne was saying, I met with my dad and other mentors, and they helped me kind of figure out what my interests are and were at that time. And they were like, hey, you like to do this. I remember seeing you in the backyard, like doing this, doing that. And they helped me kind of create the plan to be an engineer. I think backup plans are great because you need to be flexible. Like Anne said, as you go through life, things change, opportunities come that you weren't expecting that could completely change the course of your career plan, that wasn't on the plans. You definitely need to be flexible to those opportunities and things that come up. And just having the backup plan just helps. So you're not in the position where I was, where we're all eggs in one basket, and then it ends and you're like, what am I going to do? Luckily, I was, in a space where I had the support of my family and time to, course correct. But, if I was in a different situation, it might have, been a lot harder for me to course correct if I didn't already have a backup plan in place.
Mm. You about, you both mentioned talking to your mentors. Are either of you, or maybe both of you, are you helping other people now create their 5-year plans and mentoring them? See, Anne, you're both nodding. I'll bounce back over to Anne.
Yeah, I do. I have a mentor and mentors throughout my career. Some of them are informal, some of them are more formal. Just a casual conversation in the hallway, that's what I consider like informal, or someone that you're working with on a project. You learn from that, and you can ask questions, right? And then I also do that too, both formally and informally. A lot of it is, what should I be looking at? One piece of advice I always give folks is they're planning out their 5-year career plan is, a lot of people think about the next role. And what I ask them to think about is, what's the role after that? So how does this next role position you for the one after that? And is that along the trajectory that you want to go? Does it open doors or does it close doors for you? So those are kinds of things that I put out there for folks that I do mentor. And I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, and I definitely have mentors. I've had them throughout my career, and they've changed depending on the situation and also the location. Because I was Texas, now I'm here. But as for having like a dedicated mentee, that's something that I definitely want to work on. I have people that I informally mentor, because as a lead system engineer, I may have like a team of engineers, and they may ask me for advice, and I have an open door policy for them to come give me their ideas. They have questions, concerns, and sometimes we get on the topics of careers. And, I like to give them my experience just because it wasn't such I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. I always knew I wanted to do this. It was, very changing from, basketball to engineer, mechanical engineer to system engineer, and kind of all those hoops I went through. So definitely as I progressed in my career, one of the things I do want to do is to be able to reach out more and to have those mentees to really help the people around me, find their career success.
Mm-hmm. And do you find when you're helping others that it helps inspire you in your career path?
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Because when you're, as you're talking through things, you're reflecting on your own career and you're asking those same questions of yourself. Yes, most certainly. It's win-win for both. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely keeps me motivated as well. Because I see people and I want them to see me also, doing the same thing that I'm giving them, like the advice I'm giving them. I want to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable and doing those same things. So it's definitely a motivator to continue with my career plans, meeting with my mentors, and continue to, progress.
We have a question from the audience here, and please, if you have more questions, please do feel free to participate. We have these amazing people here to answer your questions and can help you craft your 5-year plan. So someone asks how to deal with procrastination while mapping out a 5-year plan.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, it seems so boring. But it can be a lot of fun. There are a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of resources out there to help make it fun. And in fact, when I was asked to come in and be here today, I knew I had a book that I myself had looked at when I was crafting my 5-year plan and working with a coach and all of this. And there are all sorts of resources out there, and it was geared towards making it fun, keeping it alive, asking those questions of yourself. What were your dreams? What are your dreams? When you close your eyes, can you visualize yourself in that role of where you might be 5 years from now? And creating that picture and to help you visualize it and to reach that goal. But there's all sorts of tools and resources out there to make it fun, right? And actually talking with people about your ideas, to me, that's what makes it. Not so much getting it down on a piece of paper. It's the conversations that you have are so very valuable. And by sharing yourself, sharing your not only your aspirations, but your fears, can really help grow that for you, grow your aspirations, help build the skills, help you really address some gaps, help you grow as a person. And you only get there through sharing and sharing with others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to add on what Anne said about kind of dealing with the procrastination of a 5-year plan, making it fun, and then also finding an accountability partner, whether it's a mentor or someone else to help you stay accountable, to help you check in you in a couple months, like, hey, how's that, career planning going? Where are you at? That'll definitely help kind of spark you to continue to update it, continue to progress in it, and continue to work on it. Because I know that's probably been the biggest help for me, because I've procrastinated, and then I'll have my mentor give me a call and they're like, send me your 5-year plan. I'm like, oh shoot. And then I'm trying to do it real quick to send it to them. So it definitely helps you just kind of stay on track, having that accountability partner.
Scrambling to do the homework before it's due.
Yeah, that's the best time, sometimes when you're on all the pressure's on you to get
That's right. We need deadlines to stay on task, right?
Yes. It's very true.
So when you're crafting out a 5-year plan, it's like, okay, it can make sense for me to see us like, okay, I'm here now. In 5 years, I would like that. But how do you fill in the blank? So how do you go, what's your 2? What's your 3? What's your 4? How do you sort of parse that out?
Yeah. So what I've done is, like at Raytheon, we have a tool where you can look up different careers. And what I would do is look at the job description of what I wanted to be. So if, for example, I aspire to be a chief engineer one day. So I looked at the roles and responsibilities of a chief engineer. And then looking into that, I'm like, okay, got that, don't have that skill, don't have this, need to work on this. And that kind of really helped fill in the gap between where I'm at now and where I need to be. And it kind of gave me a checklist of things I need to go learn, develop, to go do, to be able to reach that goal. Also having, mentors or people that are in that role that you aspire to be can help, because they can kind of give you some other, tidbits, lessons learned, and really help guide and fill in the details to get to that next goal.
That's great. That makes a lot of sense. So we just have only just a couple minutes left. We got to wrap it up. Unfortunately, I feel like we could talk about 5-year plans for maybe 5 years, and then we would be where we wanted to be, hopefully. So after crafting a 5-year plan, and what comes next? Okay, it's like, okay, I got this. Then what do I do?
So I think one of the things you want to think about is sitting down with your mentor and sharing that plan with your advocates and your mentors and friends. Because what you'll discover, and this has happened to me, is by putting it out there, one, they can hold you accountable. But also, if there's other opportunities out there that kind of align with where you want to go, that at this instant you may not be aware of, but they find out about it, they can bring it to your attention and make it available to you, right? So that's one thing, is putting the word out there. It's the advertising, right? The other thing too is to revisit it. Don't let it just sit on a shelf and catch dust, right? Pick up dust. You want to dust it off, look at it periodically, and to see how you're doing relative to your plan, and make adjustments, right? Make adjustments.
Well, this has been so informative. I feel like I'm going to go map out my 5-year plan now. I'm very inspired by this conversation. And Roslyn, is there a way that our audience can stay connected with you? Are you on LinkedIn? Is that the best way, or other routes?
I am on LinkedIn. Yes, that's probably the best way.
Yes, same here. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you both so much for your time, your knowledge, and your wisdom. I really appreciate having you here today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.